Thanks, Carrie. Well, good morning, everyone. And thank you for venturing out on this. It feels like winter, finally, right? Cold, snowy morning this morning, but thank you for making it out. So we have a very informative and I think useful panel discussion today on understanding Detroit drainage fees. And so who in the audience has heard about these drainage fees that are now being charged? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of hands. Great. Okay, so what we're hoping to do today is to explain some of the thinking behind it, why these fees have been instituted, and then talk a little bit about what you can do as residents, as individuals, as well as some of the churches or community organizations you belong to hopefully, I should say, maximize your ability to pay the fee that's appropriate for your property and nothing more, okay? So to make sure that you're saving money on these fees, and we'll talk about some resources that are available to you as well. So what I'm going to do is just introduce our three speakers, and then we'll have them come up one at a time, and they'll each talk for about 10 minutes. And then after that, we'll open it up for Q&A, so for your questions, and we'll have a nice response there at the end. So without further ado, I'll introduce our first three speakers, or our three speakers. So first, talking about Public Waters 101, how it works, we'll have Jamie Steis Thorsby, and she's with the Healthy Urban Waters Initiative at Wayne State University. After Jamie, we'll hear from Ode Salim, and Ode is an attorney and managing director at the Great Lakes Environmental Law Center, and he's going to talk about the purpose of these drainage fees and how you can pay a little bit less in fees, which I'm sure we're all interested in. And then last but not least, we'll hear from Patrick Gubry, who will talk about costs and resources, and Patrick is the water programs manager at EcoWorks. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Jamie. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. So today I'm going to talk about, the title was Public Waters 101. I was thinking about it a little bit more, and it's really stormwater. So when I think of water, I think of the water that we get to drink and that we shower, the water that comes to our house. But the drainage fees are really related to stormwater. So the water that is running off our property and goes into the storm drain. So I'm going to kind of give an introduction to that and kind of put these drainage fees, make it a little more clear what the drainage fees are in reference to and why, they are charging. So naturally, if you don't think about, a natural setting, if you don't think about pavement or buildings, naturally rain will fall and it'll either infiltrate into the ground or it'll run off into streams, and portions will also evaporate and go into plants, but for the most part it'll run off or it'll infiltrate into the ground. So before humans were here, most of this area was either forest, it was range, or it was wetland. So it was all this natural area, and it could go into the ground. There wasn't these flooding issues that we see, but due to the infrastructure, the buildings and the roads and whatnot, it has prevented the rain from really infiltrating into the ground. So because of this, people realized there wasn't anywhere for the rain to go, and they created storm drains. And the storm drains take all the rain that falls and takes it to the river, or takes it, in our case, to the wastewater treatment plant. So in Detroit, the way that they designed their storm drains was they were built to collect the water that flows into the storm drains from our streets, but they're also designed to collect the wastewater that comes from our house. So it goes into one system, all goes to the wastewater treatment plant, and it is treated at the wastewater treatment plant, which is great for normal days. Normal days, it'll all be treated and it'll go out into the river clean and good. But during rain events, you'll tend to see flooding. You might see flooding, and that's because when the water falls and it goes into the storm drains, the wastewater treatment plant can't treat it quick enough. So it'll get backed up. It can cause floodings, and because of this, Detroit, they will release some of the water, either partially treated or untreated, into the river. So That's not great either because we're releasing dirty water into the river, but that will prevent some of the flooding. However, still, even so, if it's a large enough rain event, you're still going to have flooding in places. We saw this in 2014 when there was flooding all over Metro Detroit. And it was just, there was so much rain and it was so quick that there was, no matter how much the wastewater, how quickly it treated, we just couldn't move the water out quick enough. So the reason that we have all this, and the reason that we have all these storm drains and what they're trying to do to prevent this flooding is they're doing stormwater and drainage management. So they're basically trying to reduce the rate or how quickly and the volume of water that's reaching the wastewater treatment plant. So they are designing systems like rain gardens. They're designing bioswales and, just trying to keep up with the infrastructure to prevent the flooding in our neighborhoods and to make sure that we're not releasing as much discharge into the river. So these are systems like bioswales, like I said, in one of the sheets that you might have seen that says Water 101. At the bottom, there's a diagram of a bioretention pond, and that is that's one way that they do it. So it can take the water, collect it, and prevent it from either slow it down in reaching the wastewater treatment plant or even prevent it from reaching the wastewater treatment plant. So I'm going to bring this back to my research. I'm part of the Healthy Urban Waters group. We're involved in a lot of the stormwater and drainage discussion in terms of management. And one of the projects that we're working on is actually doing modeling on the west side of Detroit. And that's to see how we can implement these systems, these stormwater and drainage management systems to basically prevent flooding. The west side of Detroit sees a lot of flooding, particularly the Warrendale neighborhood, and so we'd like to try to prevent that as much as possible and see how best we can implement these systems to, prevent the flooding and get the water out of the streets and out of our basements. Another project that we're working on is a bioretention ponds project, which is, like I said on the sheet that I gave you, a bioretention pond will process contaminants and sedimentation so that they are removed. It's basically through filtration. And this project looks at the potential of converting demolished properties into neighborhood bioretention gardens. So using the spaces that we already have that are being unused to actually do something better for the water. And we're testing the water quality to see really how effective these, how it is in cleaning the water. So that's a quick summary of stormwater and drainage management. I'm going to hand it over to O'Day to talk more about the actual drainage fees and what you're actually seeing.